Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching Dexter Resurrection, episode 6. I can't believe we are already on episode 6. This show is just flying by, and this is striking yet again. We are 6 episodes in. There hasn't been one bad episode, and this one just continues that trend. As a matter of fact, everything about this episode, yet again, I genuinely liked. And there were some really big twists in it, especially at the end with the Gemini killer, which I thought was absolutely insane. So I wanted to make sure this video came out. I'm sorry, it's a few days late to begin with. It has been a very crazy few days, and I just got out some big videos that I had to put out on the channel. So yeah, there's been a lot going on. Sorry I missed it the day of, but hey, late's better than never, I guess, technically, right? So this episode was kind of, this was an interesting episode. A lot of it was focused on second chances. That was like the big theme, and everything comes in twos. Like there was a lot of like second chances, second things, and we learned that especially with the Gemini killer twist at the end and all of that stuff. But it started by opening up with, what's her name? Prudence, I think her name is. She had passed away, so they were holding a funeral for her. And honestly, this is one of those episodes where Dexter, at its true peak of comedy, just really comes out on full display. This episode was hilarious. I'm pulling up my phone just so I have like all the details there, because I took a lot of notes. But some of the lines that Dexter said were just straight up zingers. Like Dexter asking Harrison if he should wear a black hoodie to a funeral because it's all he had. Or like one of the funniest things with that was when they were at the celebration of life, Dexter then, when he went up to speak, the way he's like holding the cat and the way he's like talking awkwardly and the way he just looks at food, he's like, I got nothing, and then he's like, food. I just thought it was so funny. And then at the end, when people are crying because of what he's saying, he like fakes cries. It was honestly, it was gold. This is like one of the best things that I like about Dexter is when it's serious, it's serious. When it's creepy, I guess you could say, it's creepy. And when it's funny, it hits. It's really funny. There are just so many funny things, like even the way Dexter was like holding the cat, things like that. And if you see me looking down, I am looking at my notes because I had to take notes for this one. There was just so much going on. So I guess if there's one slight negative to an extent, I think it's the way that they handled Prudence. I wasn't a big fan of that, to be completely honest with you, and sorry I'm looking down, I just want to make sure my audio is recording. I wasn't a big fan of how long they spent within the episode talking about Prudence and spent time with that and all of that stuff. And it's the same situation with the guy who is like Dexter's friend and all of that. I think they spent like a little too much time there with him and all of that stuff. But then again, I am okay with it because I think ultimately it's giving. I think the way that speech went, by the way, with the guy, Prudence's son, whose name is escaping me, the guy who sounds like, never mind, he sounds like a character from The Lion King. But anyway, the way he explained what Prudence did to save him, I think is going to set up an interesting story. Like, I've heard a lot of people say that they think he's the New York Ripper, because there's a big focus of that with the New York City Homicide Department. I think that's very interesting, and I think it's possible that that's the case. So I'm interested to see where it goes, because he did say something like, I leave all the darkness out of the house, and they played this like ominous track over it. So I am very interested to see if there is any sort of development we get there. We got a little bit, but I'm interested to see where it goes. So I wanted to get this out of the way up front, because that was kind of the weaker part of the episode, even though it had some really funny moments that I think we needed to see in there. But one of the biggest highlights from it, and one of the biggest takeaways, is on this theme of second chances. Harrison and Dexter actually seem right now to be having a normal relationship, and I'm so happy to see that. I think they're doing the right thing here, and I think they're setting this story up for something really interesting. For me, like I've said in many of my reviews at this point, Harrison has never been an issue for me. I understand a lot of people didn't like the way they wrote him in New Blood. People couldn't stand him, as a matter of fact, in New Blood. I never felt that way. I liked Harrison since day one. I understood his complications. I understood why he was the way he was. So I never personally had a problem with it. But in Dexter Resurrection, I don't think there's a possible way anyone could have a problem with it. He is just excellent I think he's genuinely written really well. I think they're doing a good thing with him. And I think they're honoring the character by bringing him with Dexter and kind of redeeming what people didn't like about him in New Blood and things like that. So character's great to me. And seeing him back with Dexter is also really great. So whether it's the shared scenes of the funeral or whether it is, them at the diner and him talking about second chances and things like that, I don't know. I will say, speaking of second chances in the diner scene, one of the biggest surprises of this episode, outside of the insane plot twist that comes later, which we're going to get into, is Steve Sharippa popping up out of nowhere. When I saw Steve Sharippa, when he opened the door and the landlord was Steve Sharippa, I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Dexter Resurrection's cast is just absolutely incredible. They have everyone. Again, they're just hitting zingers left and right. Everything is just a bang. Seriously, like, I can't think of anything bad to say about it. It really just has been incredible. So, outside of those things, a big focus of the episode was on Batista with the New York City Homicide Department, and Batista going to them, explaining who the Bay Harbor Butcher was, and explaining that if he gets in the room with Mia when they go to question her, he just wants to show her a picture of Dexter, just to say, like, hey, like, this is, does this person look familiar to you? So he could, like, close out that as a possibility. At first, they didn't really believe him. He didn't really do the world's best job explaining that or anything like that, but then eventually, over time, obviously the female whose name is escaping me, she starts to understand that this is like a big deal for him. This is his New York Ripper and all of that stuff. And I thought they did a pretty good job of showing that. I thought it was interesting. And I think I thought when that happened, I was like, oh, wow, this is going to set off the story into a whole other gear. But then obviously when they get to the prison and Mia kills herself, but doesn't kill herself, she Jeffrey Epsteined herself, to be honest. I thought that was absolutely outstanding, the way it was done, where Charlie paid someone off who was clearly a prison guard to go in there and kill Mia. I thought that was really fascinating. And now that I'm really fascinated to see where that's going to go for Batista, obviously, because this was like the thing for him. This was his like smoking gun. And now he doesn't have that, but he still has reason to believe that this was Dexter, or at least Dexter had his hands in something like this. So I'm very, very, very interested to see where that goes, because even though I was hoping it would be that like they teamed up or something like that, like Mia ratted out Dexter or something, and that really set the manhunt in motion, I'm still interested to see where it's going to go, because clearly Batista's not done, but this does put a bit of a wrench in his plan. So I'm interested to see how that plays out for sure. Oh, and by the way, before I get any further, the fine folks at Fine were nice enough to send me this Tank 3. This is not a sponsored video or anything. They didn't ask for any notes or anything like that. But they just wanted me to point this out, that this is a really great microphone. This thing is, there's always deals on it on Amazon, so I'm going to put the link to it in the description, but this thing is under $100, and listen to the audio quality. I've been recording on it the whole time. Thank you again, Fine, for sending me this. I'm going to put the link to it down in the description, but be sure to check one of these out. It's great. Again, they didn't ask me to say anything. I just remembered that I'm using this. Anyway, so there's that. But so outside of the Batista stuff, I am really interested to see where that goes and all of that. But the other big reveal, for the crazy reveal, is one of the other plots of this scene, or of this episode, was Dexter chasing down the Gemini killer. We finally learned more about him, and we learned that he is a very egoistic guy who thinks he's some like big shot celebrity and is using his notoriety, like the notoriety is getting to his head, and he's a big fan of that. I thought that was such an interesting angle, and I think it's going to be an even more interesting angle to continue to explore down the road. Because as you know, obviously, Dex kills one of the two Gemini killers, which was such a big reveal. It wasn't as big as something like Rita's death in season 4, but this was the first time in a long time on screen when the reveal came that there was a second Gemini killer, where I genuinely, like, I was confused. I was like, what just happened? I was flipping out at the screen. I didn't even know how to process that moment when I watched it. I was like, what, how? I was just as confused as Dexter. And I think they did such a good job with that twist, because it was genuinely confusing until he realized Gemini means twins, basically. So I thought that was just an excellent excellent thing. I really did. That was just a crazy plot twist at the end. So now he's going to have to deal with that, and that is going to put Dexter in trouble, because I saw the promos for the next episode where Dexter is in him and the ponytail killer, whatever the hell they call him, and the other Gemini killer. They are now going to be out on some Succession-esque mansion somewhere. So that's gonna be some shit for Dexter, for lack of a better word. Man, I just think on all fronts, this was just another excellent episode. This one had twists. Unlike other things, this one had really good, funny moments. This one had serious moments. It had everything. This show is not disappointing. We are 6 episodes in. There hasn't been one bad episode. There hasn't been one even mid-episode. This, to me, was another 10 out of 10. We're 3 in a row for 10 out of 10s. I'm not even kidding. You guys probably think I'm just glazing this show at this point because I've been talking about it so positively. But there's literally, like, nothing to say that's, like, bad about it. There's a couple, like, things that are a little weird. Like I said, they focused on Prudence a little too much. There is a little bit of a pacing issue with how quickly Dexter's killing all of these people. But again, there's never been a moment when that happened where I felt like out of the moment, or I felt like it was immersion breaking. Yeah, it's a little fast, but that's not the end of the world. If it was the end of the world, I would have talked about it. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I have my eyebrow up for, but again, it's nothing that is really going to, I don't think there's any concern at the moment. But if that's it, man, this could very well be, I'm not kidding, I think I said it in my last review, this could very well be the best season of Dexter. I know that may be outlandish to some, but if this pace continues up until episode 10, this beats season 4 for me. It's beats season 2 for me. It's already beat season 2 for me. I'm not going to lie, and I loved season 2. But I'm just being real. These past 6 episodes are exactly what I want out of Dexter, and they're actually delivering. And I'm so happy they're finally doing that, because this opens up a whole other topic, and it's something that I do want to say for a separate video, but just this is a preface for it, so be subscribed to the channel if you aren't already, because it's going to be coming soon. I want to make a video talking about the idea of a spin-off show or a reunion show, and if it's done right, you know, it doesn't feel like a spin-off. It doesn't feel like a reunion. It just feels canon. You know what I mean? The Walking Dead's never done that. This is the closest thing I've ever seen to that, genuinely, outside of Better Call Saul, but that's kind of a whole other thing. The point I guess I'm making is this feels deserved. This feels warranted, and it feels like something I want to continue to invest in and watch. I don't know. Are you shooting what I'm loading? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Definitely comment the illustrious dolphin if you are. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments, not the description. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Do you feel the same way? Do you not? Blah, blah, blah. All the stuff. Pee-poo, poo-poo. You know, whatever. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and X. On Instagram, it's jerrys.takes, and on X, it's jerrys_takes. Don't ask me why there's a difference, but with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.